There are over 100 teams in college football, thousands upon thousands of players, and hundreds of coaches. But I swear I hear more hate toward Deion Sanders and Colorado than the rest of them combined. Deion was hated from the second that he became primetime, truly in the next level, as an extremely talented young quarterback in the NFL, alongside also being a stud player in the MLB, as he was doing things that were only comparable to a phenom in Bo Jackson.
George has time, and his pass is intercepted. They're not catching him down the sideline.
The fact that primetime was a character with all the glitz and glamour ruffled a lot of feathers, but the thing is that he was so good that he could back it all up. At a certain point, the confidence he had himself made sense because he legitimately was the best quarterback in the NFL and to this day is one of the best, if not the best quarterbacks in NFL history. Add that to the fact that Deion is unspokenly himself and doesn't care what people say, and let's just say that it brings upon a lot of jealousy and hate from people all across the board who in all honesty just wish they had the life that he did. That's usually where a lot of this jealousy and hate comes from. Kind of on a tangent, this wasn't a script, but when you think about hate, jealousy, all this stuff, it comes from a place of either want or whatever, stuff like that. Like, you don't talk about people that there's no care there. So for Deion, as he was quickly becoming one of the best players in the NFL, he received so much criticism because of the fact that he was doing things that other people weren't doing, and he had that flashy persona. There's this phrase that I heard from somewhere, I don't really know where, but it's, they hate me because they ain't me. It honestly sounds like a phrase that Deion would say, and he might have said it. Because it just seems to be the case with Deion no matter what he does. Because for Deion, he's not just been successful in football or in baseball, but he's parlayed into a successful commentary career, a coaching career with his kids, and doing X, Y, and Z, doing anything really. He's maintained a popularity that is really hard to kind of reflect in any other player. Because if you think of any NFL player that's been retired for, say, 20 years, it's really, really tough to maintain that relevancy. The only guy I could think of that's comparable to him is someone like Shannon Sharpe. And him and Shannon Sharpe, they're such distinct personalities, work really hard, they're very consistent, they're consistently themselves, and so it pays off. But let's just say there's always a price. There's always a price with this stuff. And the price with those guys is that they get a whole bunch of criticism. People that are average, people that kind of don't ruffle feathers, they don't get criticized. It's the people that are above and beyond, the people that are doing things that other people don't, they're the ones that get criticized. And so that's the case with Deion here. If he wasn't so consistently successful and consistently in front of people, then no one would be talking about him. It's the fact that he's getting attention that rubs people the wrong way. This all started back really in the NFL. I mean, he was popular at Florida State, really good cornerback. But if we fast forward a bit, when he started coaching, I mean, Jackson State, but especially at Colorado, is when it took up a few notches. Back when he was at Jackson State, people were definitely critical about what he was doing, but they also commended him for bringing eyes to HBCU football and helping fund these overlooked programs while he was there. Because here's the thing, Coach Prime has an influence that isn't reflected by any other single figure in all college football history that I could think of. And so when you bring that to schools or bring that to programs that are overlooked, it's one thing. But when you go to the next level, you go to a Colorado team, which is somewhat in the zeitgeist to the point where there's a decent fan base, but it's more so the fact that they get these primetime games, they're in front of more eyes. That's when the critiques and all that stuff come right back in full swing. Because keep in mind, he went to a one-win Colorado team. A team that in this zeitgeist of the FBS, I keep saying zeitgeist, but in the FBS, it's pretty much like bottom barrel. For the past few decades, Colorado has not been talked about. But the second he got there, everyone is talking about them like they're like Alabama or Georgia. Like, they get the same amount of media attention as those schools. And it's simply because of Coach Prime and the fact that he brought along his sons with him in Shadur, Shiloh, and Junior. I want to make sure to mention that because he always brings it up when he talks. Who's a cameraman and stuff like that. And upon that, the insanely talented two-way stud in Travis Hunter, who was with him at Jackson State. It's like one of those things where they're so close that they're pretty much family. Deion has a big enough personality to garner attention like a five-star quarterback on steroids, even though he doesn't even play. It just doesn't happen with coaches. Like, genuinely, I can't think of a single time in a single sport where a coach has been as popular as Deion has been. And keep in mind, he's on a Colorado team that's in my mind, I'm from Arizona. Pac-12 and all that stuff is kind of in this area, stuff like that. Colorado is just not brought up. And then suddenly, when Deion came in, now it's more popular than all of them combined. It's insane. And it's what we like to call fuel to the fire for coaches, colleagues, X, Y, and Z to criticize him on any little mistake, any little thing he does. The name of the game for the hate towards Deion has and will always revolve around jealousy. People just care too much about what he's doing because they can't come even remotely close. And I've seen that reflected in a lot of the coaches that are around him. Back and forth with the Colorado State coaches, back and forth with a lot of coaches in this. I feel like there was stuff with like TCU potentially, but a lot of these coaches, because of the fact that they're not getting the eyes, they're not getting the attention, they're not getting the funding, they're not getting X, Y, and Z that Deion is, they start throwing these insults, throwing these things. And it's just because Deion is Deion. There's no one like Prime. Prime is one of a kind. He he is who he is. And that attracts a certain amount of attention, a certain amount of recruits, a certain amount of X, Y, and Z. And so these coaches will find any way, and commentators, people in the media, people will find any way to go after him because of the fact that he is who he is. No matter what you say, X, Y, and Z, he is prime. Colorado could win 0 games, could win 1 billion games. He is prime. He will not change. And you can't really say that about much people. Let's be honest here. Just in general, in life, not a lot of people are going to maintain the same persona, personality, X, Y, and Z if they do really well or do really bad. But he is who he is, and he stays winning. That may sound whatever, but no matter what he does, he stays winning. No coach in college football history has made a team as popular when they weren't even Bulge eligible as Deion. I mean, they get primetime, wink, slots, and a ton of media coverage, even though they haven't even been close to a natty run. And this attention doesn't just go with Deion. As I talked about, his kids are also with him. And Shiloh, Shedeur, I've seen this attention reflected especially in Shedeur, who just so happens to be the starting quarterback and the highest paid NIL athlete in the country. I mean, it does get much better than that. Because you gotta understand, Deion's family is popular enough to get national ads on TV like Oikos, KFC, Google, Nike. I think Shedeur has a whole Nike billboard that it caused a lot of ruffle off feathers, but to get to that point, you gotta be popular. And let's just say it's kind of insane. And alongside the process, his kids are becoming stars before they're even drafted. Keep in mind, there's been some big awards, some X, Y, and Z, some Heisman runners. Like Shedeur is great, Shiloh's great, and Travis especially is amazing. But they haven't even necessarily done anything crazy, and yet they are seen on kind of the level of like superstars in the NFL right now, which is wild. Anyways, alongside the popularity of the Sanders is a guy that I just mentioned in Travis Hunter, a one-of-a-kind athlete that is a legitimate top 5 talent. I mean, my guy plays cornerback, wide receiver. And I was reading an article today after the Nebraska game, and he was getting criticized for a quote-unquote bad game for 10 catches, 110 yards. When keep in mind, he also plays cornerback. He plays on both sides of the field, and 100 yards is a bad game for him. Like, that's insane. Travis Hunter was with Deion back at Jackson State, and he himself has become a hot commodity while at Colorado, getting deals with Celsius, So Hoodie, Actively Black. I think he's with Michael Strahan's clothing line. So let's just say he's doing pretty dang good as his stardom is rising quickly. I mean, when someone's as talented as he is, the moon is not even the limit. Like, he could be someone special, and that's why he's a top 10 talent. But let's just say this popularity itself, just like with Deion, brings on a lot of criticism. But there's more to it than just the finances, especially if we shift the focus back to Shedeur. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but anyways, being such a big name, and one of the big things that's caused a lot of criticism is flaunting that little thing he does where he flaunts the watches. It really gets him because he does all this stuff like gets cars, X, Y, Z, and has the Nike deal. But it's the perception that makes him a target, because when you lose the games you're expected to win, it comes back to bite. Let's just say. Colorado's recent loss to Nebraska was a massive reality check, as the opposing quarterback, Dylan Raiola, made fun of Shedeur's signature watch celebration after the game. And I'm a big fan of Shedeur, but a celebration like that is just asking for flack. It's bait for someone to run with in case you lose. So, in a sense, it was inevitable, especially after some very unrolling play. But you also got to understand, it could have been any other quarterback in college football. They are not going to get this much media attention for doing such a thing. Because it wasn't just like, oh, they were expected to do somewhat well. Deion, Shedeur, Shiloh, Travis, and the rest of Colorado had super high expectations on themselves and from the media going to the season. And they already seem to be flying a bit below them. Obviously, 2 games in, don't want to start crazy. But considering that they have these such great players, there's expectation that they're going to be great. But it's really tough when you don't have a cohesive unit. And this is kind of like on a tangent, but they just don't have great offensive line, defensive line play, at least as of late. And so when you have bad line play, it's almost impossible to lose. I'm a big Joe Burrow fan. When the offensive line was bad, they didn't win anything. Line got good, they start winning stuff. That's kind of the name of the game. You win it in the trenches. So it's really, really tough to live up to that. So if you go to the season, and Deion was talking about them being playoff competitive and all this stuff, and then you barely beat an FCS school and get stomped by Nebraska, people are going to be on you. And many are wondering if this will be a repeat of last year's underwhelming 4-8 performance, which it very well could be. I mean, it's a lot to ask to turn around a school as quickly as people think Deion should be able to do with Colorado, especially with a lot of transfer players and when you can't get a running game started. Because building a college team takes time. It's not something that even Coach Prime can do overnight. But people love to find ways to hate or criticize Deion. And so no time is going to be quick enough, especially when your son is a quarterback. I think Coach Prime and the rest of Colorado would be more hated if they're really good, which I think could be reality sometime soon, but it would take a lot of years where his sons Shedeur, Shiloh, and Travis Hunter will not be there anymore. Because after the season, there's a very good chance that those 3 will all go to the NFL. So many are wondering if Deion would stay in Colorado or maybe go to the NFL, but he's hushed rumors about that going to the next level thing and leaving Boulder. You know what? I think maybe he gets some brownie points by the media if he stayed in Colorado, because there's this whole idea that he just follows the kids or there's X, Y, and Z. But you got to understand, Deion's Deion. He goes where he goes and he creates massive change. So if he does stay, he does stay. It's really one of those situations where with Deion, he could like cure cancer, he could do all that stuff. He's still going to get hate. So it doesn't matter. We're saying all this stuff like, oh, if you went to the NFL, what is this? It really, truly, in all honesty, it doesn't matter. The hate train is going to be present. It's just where it is and where it's focused. That's kind of the name of the game with all this stuff. I think, honestly, it's just hidden by the fact that his kids are along with him. There are countless people who are preying on the downfall of Deion, Shador, Shiloh, Travis, and the rest of Colorado, which just boils down to how successful they have been in gaining the attention of the football world. There are multiple near daily vlog channels that chronicle Coach Prime and the team, with videos getting up to millions of views. And that doesn't happen anywhere else. I mean, keep in mind, Deion Sanders Jr., Deion's son, films the team and posts videos almost daily, getting hundreds of thousands of views. Some of these videos get up to a million. That just does not happen with other schools. You could talk about Bama's, you could talk about Georgia's, you could talk about Ohio State. And sure, these players are popular, but there's something about Deion, Shador, all these guys is just different. It's just very, very different. Other schools have content teams and people watch stuff, but Colorado in itself gets as much attention as a lot of these programs combined, if we're being honest here. Deion regularly gets these massive interviews, is one of the most brandable names in media. I mean, it's him and Coach Saban for Aflac. He's alongside the most successful coach in college football in history, if that says anything. I kind of see Deion as similar to like a football version of the Shaq commercial-wise and branding-wise. Because his primetime persona is just so incredibly remarkable that he brings eyes wherever he goes. And that just so happens to be Colorado right now. His light is so bright that Colorado has talked about as much as any school out there, which just never in a billion years would happen if anyone else went there. Because the prime effect is not just tens of millions, it's in the hundreds, if not billions over time. So I doubt that Colorado would want him to go anywhere else. I mean, genuinely, the Buffaloes could probably go god-awful for a decade and Deion could still have that same position because of just how much revenue he generates by himself. Although I'm sure they'll be fine. And the beauty of it all is that he just uses it as fuel to just prove him wrong and be a superstar no matter what he does. And the crazy thing is that 99.99999% of people wouldn't say any of the stuff that they say to Deion or any of these kids' faces. It's because of the fact that they can be anonymous and they lack accountability that makes the hate so constantly, especially in this age with internet and all this stuff. And I'm sure it will be the same when his kids go to the NFL. I'm sure they'll get all sorts of stuff and X, Y, and Z. But the beauty of it is you can either let it affect you or let it enhance you. And what Deion's done is let it enhance him his entire career. He's been getting hate since 80s and 90s, so it's not affected him. And he's a great teacher. I'm sure his sons will do fine. He knows how to make the process as seamless as possible. And let's be honest here. All this hate is pretty sad. Like, do you have anything better to do but to hate on some 27-year-old kids and a guy that's had one of the biggest legacies in sports? Like, come on. Thanks for watching this rambly type video. Hopefully you enjoyed. Subscribe, like, and you know what? Dislike if you want. I don't really care. I just hope you have a great day, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.
Well, alright.